How are you today, buddy?
Man, I'm good. I'm sitting here listening to y'all talk about colors on the uniform. I don't want to hear anything about colors on the uniform. Let's get some victories out there in L.A.
Yeah, that's true. That is, right. That's fair.
That will help. We're not even talking about the Rams. We're talking about the soon-to-be L.A. Chargers.
Yeah. Hey, Bruce, let me.
And my thing is, go with the blue bowl because the Rams got yellow in their stuff.
Yeah, he's got some pennies on the uniform stuff. That
like
boy,
it.
Bruce. I want to run this by you. This came up, I don't know, I guess quite organically, but I'm curious if somebody who played in a year in the league for almost, better part of a decade and a half, if you know the answer to this. Stumbled upon it this morning. Obviously, the three-point shot was introduced in 1979. The ABA had it, blah, blah, blah. College experimented in the 80s, blah, blah, blah. Do you know the first ever three-point shot, what year and what level it was introduced at? Do you know the answer to that question?
Absolutely not.
You ready for the answer?
I'm ready.
1945 between Columbia and Fordham University. How crazy is that?
I'm sure that wasn't a barn burner there.
Yeah, 13-12, the final score. Right? And Bruce, based on the demographic of the people on the court, I'm guessing the game was played primarily below the rim. Just a guess.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sure there was nothing athletic about that game except the sweat.
Yeah, a lot of picks and a lot of set shots. I got you. All right, let's get into what's happening now. Quick, your assessment, not on the Knicks because I don't want to bore everybody. Knicks are terrible, going nowhere. But my question to you is, if you and you know I'm right, if you need a scorer, and you're a team that believes you're a scorer away from really giving either the Warriors or the Spurs and LeBron and the Cavs a run. Would you investigate trading for Carmelo Anthony at this point?
Man, it's quite a bit of a difficult dynamic there because Carmelo is he's so accustomed to being that guy, that scorer. I don't know if you can get him and try to get him to conform to what your style of play is. I mean, everybody always talked about how, this guy can adapt here, this guy can adapt there. Well, sometimes it just doesn't work. And Carmelo's the type of individual that you build around him. That's the way it's been for him in high school, the way it was for him in college, the way for him when he was in Denver. He's not one of those guys that comes in and say, you know what, I'll do this and sacrifice my game so that the team can win. Now, some people may say, well, that's selfish, but that's because he's so good at what he does. That's his strength. And his strength is not finding guys on the weak side. His strength is not just rebounding. His strength is not defense. It's more about him putting that ball in the hole and you creating a group around him. Mm-hmm. Now, it takes time for that, and that's why we see the Knicks struggling right now. We see the Knicks struggling because it takes time for teams to come together and gel. We saw when LeBron went to Miami that first year. Even though they made the finals, it still took them time to gel. Now you're talking about a guy as far as Derrick Rose being at the point guard position, which is the most vital position in the game of basketball, unless you're in Cleveland because it's wherever LeBron is. But you have a scenario where he hasn't played in the past few years a complete season. There's still a lot of rust there. And how do you get through that rust? You knock it off with a great big hammer of discipline.
Yeah.
So that means that discipline has to come from Coach Hornacek and say, you know what, Derek? No, you haven't played in the fourth quarter. Until you start playing like we know you can play, then you'll play in the fourth quarter.
Wow. Yeah, maybe that's the issue. He can't handle that. Which brings, you talk about being in the point guard position with Derrick Rose. We had this conversation earlier about the potential MVPs right now. Russell Westbrook is breaking all kinds of records as it pertains to triple-doubles, but James Harden is right there, and maybe even more important to his squad as they're sitting technically third in the West, but kind of second with him now at point guard. I mean, how do you evaluate those two against each other? They just played. Harden came away with the victory for Houston, but how do you evaluate those two against each other, former teammates, but also two of the front runners for the MVP right now?
Now, Tiki, I know you're accustomed to being hit or juking somebody out there. And basketball is a little different,
Yep.
But at the same time, on defense, you still have to use that mentality. Get physical. Be physical. That's what Russell Westbrook is. Now, the thing that will, as far as I'm concerned, that will hold Harden back from getting that award, the most valuable player, is that player who can virtually do it all. He can assist. He can rebound. He can score. He can defend. That last word, defend, that adjective that I'm using right now, defense. Come on now. That's my only weakness with James Harden, because there's times he goes asleep on that end.
But what about in D'Antoni's? But doesn't D'Antoni's system allow for that? You know what I mean? Doesn't it
allow for in
a sense?
Okay, so Tiki, you telling me that D'Antoni don't say too much about the defense.
He doesn't. He never has, and he never will. Come on, you know that.
It's like, let's play to our strength. Let's play up our strengths, and not necessarily worry about our weakness, right? If you're trying to teach a kid who doesn't know math, but he loves English, you teach him math through English, right? I mean, that's kind of. I'm just asking a question.
You are absolutely right. See, I'm laughing, Tiki, because not many football guys would understand that,
yes,
or can see that. Some of them are, dare I say, they don't even want to venture that area, because sometimes you have to do other things. Tiki, being a champion, yes, offense scores points, but defense wins championships.
Without a doubt.
And that was their Achilles heel when they were in Phoenix under D'Antoni. We talk about Steve Nash and his greatness. Now, we know that D'Antoni can create systems for point guards. Look at what James Harden is doing right now. You saw D'Antoni in L.A. without a good point guard, and what happened? Womp, womp, womp. That's what happened. So now you put him in this scenario. You got to defend, man, if you're trying to get those championships. I represent now the NBA, obviously, but we partnered up with Next VR, virtual reality, and this is the reality that when you put on those headsets and you watch those games, it's like you can be there defending right along with D'Antoni if you care to. So I like throwing in certain things like that. Tiki, talking about that virtual reality and how we partnered up with the NBA, and you be able to see me and my bow tie next week.
Nice.
Doing a live game.
Hey, how close?
San Antonio, Minnesota.
How close does the action get? When you put these things on, this Next VR, these virtual reality headsets, how close are you for a fan?
You remember when that coach used to give you the play and you run in and tell the play?
Yeah.
That's how close you are right there, Tiki.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
That's how close you are. I did an interview with Kevin Love, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic. If you have Daydream by Google or Samsung Gear VR headset and compatible phones, you can download the Next VR app. Access the NBA channel to experience Tuesday's free preview. Free. Now, see, I don't turn down anything free except my collar, Tiki.
Hey, if it's free,
everybody,
you know the cliche, right, Bruce? If it's free, I'll take 3.
You take 3, Tiki? See, that's a football mentality. Basketball mentality, you take 8. You always got to take 8, Tiki.
Hey, Bruce, let me ask you a question here for a second. Don't get mad at me. You might, though. You might. When are we going to lose the bow tie? When are we going to mix it up, man?
Are you kidding me?
Come on.
Are you kidding me? No, see, you don't lose the bow tie. See, I came up with an acronym for those 3 letters. Everybody see Bruce Bowen. They say, oh, that's why it goes with the bow tie. But see, now I'm going to get on that level of Tiki Barber. I came up with an acronym for it, and that is BOW, Being Optimistic Wins. So I can't get off of that now because there's something behind it. Not everybody can grasp hold of how when you wear a bow tie, it's not just for swag. It's not just to teach as a professor, but it can be for elegance as well. When you go to the White House 3 times, like some of us have been able to go to because of what you've been able to do on the hardwood, but it's such a movement now. Now, one thing I don't like is the fakes. I don't like the fake ones. I don't like those clip-ons.
Oh, the clip-ons.
That's a no-no.
No, if you can't tie a bow tie, don't wear a bow. If you can't tie a bow tie, don't wear a bow tie.
That's right. If you can't, that's like asking somebody, would you like a little filet mignon or would you like ground chuck? Give me the fillet.
Oh, man. Better than the ascot that your boys rocking over on the NFL side with the network. That thing had to go.
Hey, you got some guys, they're not ready for true fashion.
Hey.
And that's just as the whole world, this VR it's truly amazing. And I say this from the standpoint that you feel like you can step right onto the court. You know, I talk about things and I get excited about certain things, but this right here, now think about some of the athletes we have in the game right now. Andrew Wiggins, you're going to be able to see him next week in this. He's a high flyer. But you know someone who goes higher than him?
Who?
Zach LaVine.
Yeah,
He's
true.
a two-time NBA Slam Dunk champion.
I hear you.
You can see him soaring.
I hear
you. Can see Manu Ginobili doing what he does or what he's been doing for quite some time. Even when I played, even way back when we wore, you know, medium thigh shorts. It wasn't completely baggy, but we were close to it.
It's all right to play basketball in spandex, Bruce. It's all right. Don't worry about it. Hey, man, we appreciate you. And keep rocking it. Don't listen to BT. Keep rocking your style, man. Own it.
I now have two favorites from the Giants now. You and that Michael Stitt. Yeah, that guy.
That's funny. Bruce, good stuff, buddy.
Appreciate
Thank you,
you,
man.
Bruce.
Take care, fellas.